Hello and Grüß Gott and welcome back, or welcome for the first time to my channel. I am Tom, an American guy living in Germany since 2005. And today our video is going to be about international travel from Germany over to America during the pandemic. So if you are new here, please consider plopping that subscribe button down there, and whether you are a new or returning viewer, please give me either a thumbs up or a thumbs down in the video so that I know to make more like this one in the future or not. So just a bit of backstory here. I've been living in Germany for about 15 years now, and it's been really important to me to visit family and friends in America at least once a year, ideally twice a year. And we even brought our kids when they were babies because I thought that that was just really important to do so that their family would get to know them. And when I think back on all the effort that was involved in doing that, man, that was a lot of work. But I felt at the time it was so important for the family to get to know them. Well, anyway, that's the backstory. That's the reason that I like to visit the States every year. And in order to visit the States and bring my wife with me, I have to always fill out an ESTA form. Okay, so normally the process of entering the United States with our kids and my wife is pretty easy. I just have to apply for an ESTA form for my wife. I think it costs about $14, and it's a process of about 20 minutes of filling up forms online, and then that's it. Don't have to worry about it after that. In fact, as far as I can remember, we've never even been asked for the form or the confirmation by the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol upon arriving into the States. They normally just take all of our passports and either take a fingerprint or a picture and then let us on through. So how is that for you guys? When you apply for ESTA, do they ever ask for it when you're going through the customs? Well, anyway, since the pandemic, everything has changed all over the world. We traveled to the US in August of 2020 when the numbers were way down in Germany and also way down in the United States, and we had no issues at all, either boarding the plane or getting through the border protection on the American side. But to be safe, I had contacted the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol and talked to an officer and just confirmed with him that it would be no problem to bring my wife with since she was the mom of my American kids. He assured me that it would be no issue at all. Well, and that is how it worked out. It was no problem at all to get into the United States in 2020. We arrived at the Chicago airport, got our temperature read with those thermometers they point at your forehead, signed an affidavit that we were not sick, and then we were let into the good old USA. Now, the pandemic in 2021, it's quite a bit different. This is where things get a little weird. The numbers are way down in Germany again, especially in the summertime. Also down in America. They have been down in America for a long time already, although admittedly the next variant is on the march. But the US population has all had the chance to get vaccinated for months already. Many people that I know, whether they're 70 years old or 18 years old, have been vaccinated already for 3 or 6 months. And anyone who isn't vaccinated at this point is just somebody who doesn't want to get vaccinated. With that being the case, things should be hunky-dory in 2021 for us to enter the States. But they weren't. I attempted to check us in online the day before the flight, and it was no problem for me to get boarding passes for myself and our 2 children who have dual citizenship. But for my wife, it didn't work out, and I just thought, okay, it's probably because my wife is German and I have to get her boarding ticket at the airport. So we tried checking in at the Lufthansa counter, and she said, yeah, I need to see your guys' marriage certificate, otherwise no boarding pass. We thought, what the heck? Are you serious? We've never been asked for a marriage certificate, and we've been traveling together to the States since 2007. But she was adamant, and she didn't want to give my wife her boarding ticket, even though she has an official document in her passport, a hyphenated name with her maiden name and my last name. You can obviously see that we're married, but no, she needed a marriage certificate, and this is something new. We were just flabbergasted, and my wife was on the verge of crying. We implored her that this just couldn't be. This has never been the case before. Even last year when we traveled in August 2020 to the States, we didn't have to go through this whole rigmarole. No one told us either that we would need a marriage certificate to travel. Well, luckily, teller lady at the counter called up an officer in Frankfurt, and she said if he allows you to board the plane, then that is just a personal decision. So we'll see how lucky you are. And she called up the officer. Luckily, he was having a good day, and he said, sure, you can let them through. I'll give you the green light. Whew. That would have sucked otherwise. We were really relieved to be able to get a boarding ticket to board the flight. When you fly to the US from Munich, you use gate H, which is up on the mezzanine, and there they have a second check. And guess what? It was the same spiel all over again. They took our passports again and said to my wife, hey, hold on a second, where's your marriage certificate? Hey, come on, we just spent a half hour screwing around downstairs. They already got the okay from the officer in Frankfurt. What is going on? But the guy said, hey, I don't see any notes here that you guys, that they made an exception for you. So we started to think, what are we going to do? Are we going to have to go home, cancel our flight just to get the marriage certificate? But luckily, he had come back after 15 minutes of waiting and said, yeah, okay, I found out. You've got the green light. You can board the plane. Whew. We were running out of time, too. It's a good thing that we got to the airport 3 hours early because otherwise I think we might have missed our flight. Okay, so the moral of the story, for international couples, make sure to bring your marriage certificate, maybe even your birth certificate of your children, just to make sure that you can travel internationally. Also, since the pandemic, many things have changed. Rules and regulations have changed, prices have changed. I've noticed that even the rates for the rental cars have gone up, so just make sure to do your research ahead of time. So what about the flight? The flight was just crazy. It was totally full to the brim, every single seat was taken, and even the bassinets were filled with babies. And this, although Germans are not allowed to fly into America as tourists. So what is this full airplane from Munich to Chicago full of Americans point to? Well, a double standard of international travel. Americans are allowed to travel into Europe, but Germans are not allowed to travel into America. And what about the airport? We normally fly into Chicago O'Hare, which is a busy airport, but I have never seen it this busy before. The line to go through customs spilled out of the normal area that generally has about a few hundred people in there, all the way into a different wing of the airport and back. I thought, we're not going to get out of here for hours. And what about the US Customs and Border Protection? Were we going to have problems with my German wife coming into the States? So we got up into line and I handed him our 4 passports, and he just took each of our pictures and stamped my wife's passport and let us on through. No questions asked at all. That was a super relief. Okay, so what about travel in 2020 versus 2021 in the pandemic? Last year, there were many more unknowns with the pandemic. In the summer of 2020, there was not yet a vaccine, and much less was known about how the pandemic was going to unfold. Consequently, travel was dampened. We originally booked a flight with Icelandic Air, and that flight was canceled. And to this day, I believe they don't offer that flight anymore. Lufthansa, on the other hand, they fly still 4 or 5 times a week, I believe. They used to fly every single day. So we booked with Lufthansa back in 2020. The funny thing was, the flight was nearly empty. Every single passenger had a whole row of seats that they could just lay down on. So that was nice. And I was kind of expecting that this time. That's why I was so amazed that the flight was totally full. I had also traveled to the States in November for Thanksgiving last year, and it was like a ghost town. In the airport, on the airplane, on the way back, there were 18 passengers on the airplane. 18. Crazy. Well, anyway, now that nearly the whole population has been vaccinated, at least those who want to get vaccinated, people are traveling much more. The airports are full, and the only restriction seems to be on international travel. So just a short word on the pandemic in the USA versus Germany. In the USA, it's no longer required, at least where I come from, to wear masks. Some businesses like Home Depot, they do have the employees wear masks, but most other businesses do not require it. I would say that about 20% of people still do wear masks while they're out and about shopping. And if you contrast that to Germany, everybody's still got to wear masks. So if you're shopping, you always have to wear masks. If you're somewhere public, like at church, you gotta wear masks. And also in many instances at work, you have to wear masks. So that is one big difference between Germany and the United States in regards to the pandemic. I feel like in Germany, we're gonna be wearing masks for a really long time to come. Germany is very cautious in this regard. In the video, I'd like to give shout outs to all the new subscribers. Mark Wallbach, Cecilia Bermudez, Inka Mexi, Mr. Benedict is 25 again, Daniel Martinez, Fisher Group, Gerald Ettmeyer, Rick Klotzbach, Ziohan, Peter Mack, Mordhorst, 5000, Gudrun Born, Ette Dümmes, Wesserbogen, Dietrich Schweiss, Katrin Wagner, Benjamin Rader, Brianna, Jeremy, Claudio, Xavier Vasquez Coba, AR, Steve Gibson, Lena K, A. Morrison, Sophia P, Netta Rono, Martina Multner, Klimanox, Hayo Kasilke, Ventilspieler, Phil Nee, Mara Sepier, Omar Gilin, Richard Matuszek, Peter Panther, Kenneth Dumas, Multi-Scooter 63, Ingeborg M, Alexander Grofix, Curry Coast, Beauty in the Night 1986, and Vicky Reed. Thanks so much for joining the channel, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I say...
Pfiat euch and ciao.